Thank you for helping me through this bumpy road.
A lot of applause with good reason. One very happy and gregarious 8-year-old. His name is Zion Harvey, and he's the first child to ever receive any hand transplant. He actually got a double hand transplant. Doctors completed the 11th hour surgery last month. Fox News medical A-teamer Dr. Marc Siegel spoke with the doctor who performed the surgery and joins us now. Tell us, how did this come to be that this kid needed a double hand transplant? And then talk us through why the doctors selected him to be the very first one.
Excellent questions, Leland. At the age of 2, he suffered a severe infection, and he lost kidney function, he lost feet, hands, because the body tries to preserve blood flow to the vital organs, so the hands are in jeopardy. Well, you know what? His mother gave him a kidney at the age of 4, so he was already on immunosuppressives, which makes him an excellent case for the first hand transplant, because the biggest problem is how they're going to react to the immunosuppressives. Well, the other big problem in a child, Leland, is that they have a lot of trouble finding any kind of body parts like that. So it's really a heartwarming story that some parents out there that were losing a child donated the hands, and to this child. And Zion Harvey, the other point is that children, the brains in children are still developing, so they can be retraining much more easily. He's already using an iPad. And in the future, you heard Dr. Leland, this chief surgeon that I spoke to, saying he expects him to be throwing a ball in a couple of years.
Unbelievable the amount of dexterity that takes, that all of a sudden you could graft these hands on. Do the hands grow as he grows? Do these become part of him, essentially?
Absolutely. They grow as he grows. The nerves regenerate. They hook the nerves back up. They hook the arteries back up. They hook the muscles back up. They have these techniques. They've been using them on adults since 1998, but now they're using them on kids. And as you just said, the hands regrow as the body grows. The only reminder is that the body will turn around and reject these hands if you're not on lifelong immunosuppressives. So they're looking more and more on how to get better medications that are easy to tolerate, especially in a child. Lifelong can be many, many years.
A brave young man for sure, when you see what Harvey's gone through and the smile on his face, even as he gets carried into the operating room. What goes through with this in terms of possibly getting new feet for him? Is it the same type of procedure? Has that ever been looked at before?
Well, they've done that before, for sure. It's a little trickier, but that's something that they could be considering going forward. Obviously, the hands are even more important in terms of things you can do, but the idea that he's already on immunosuppressives and his attitude, I mean, this is an enormous team, Leland, also. You got social workers, psychiatrists, psychologists working with him, medical doctors. 10 surgeons operated on him at the University of Pennsylvania. So yeah, they could consider going forward, maybe even to consider feet. Absolutely.
No question that it's fabulous for Zion here. We see him using his new hands. How amazing that must be, not only for him, but also for his parents who've gone through so much with him and those kinds of things the doctors have performed. Give us the broad picture here in terms of what this surgery, being able to do a hand transplant for a child, means in the bigger picture.
Hugely important, because there are children out there that have congenital loss of hands that never had them. There are those who lose them in burns, in fires, in explosions. We just talked about that with July 4th. This is a huge problem out there. And again, we've been doing it with adults, but children unfortunately get in these accidents more often. The problem is going to be getting donors. And that's why I would tell everybody out there, sign that donor card and consider this. If you lose the loved one, the best thing you can do, and there's a very narrow window for transplant, is to donate organs, and hands are organs.
Well, you see that on people's driver's license when you sign up and those kinds of things. A lot of folks, and this is something that I initially thought when I read about this story, is the issue of that obviously it's tragic you lose hands, but you can get prosthetics. There's been so much development in prosthetics because of wounded warriors and those kinds of things. We have a soundbite from the doctor who performed the surgery talking about why there's no substitute for a transplanted hand.
These transplants are not for everyone. And many patients do extremely well, particularly with upper extremity prostheses. There are advances being made in prosthetic design and integration with the nervous system all the time, but still they're mechanical devices. They're mechanical devices. They don't feel like a human hand.
So for Zion, now that he has what feels like human hands and he can throw a ball in a couple of years, is he going to be able to write with a pen and do those kinds of things, Doc?
He believes that. You know, Dr. Levin was making that point hugely, that this is so much better than a prosthetic hand. I mean, this idea of using these things in the future, he's already using his iPad. He expects him to be able to write. He should have that pincer grip. And again, he should be able to play ball. So, and sensitivity will be returning to these hands in about a year or two. He said a word of caution, though, Leland. He said, you know, we're going to know more in 6 months. As this evolves, the next 6 months are crucial.
Crucial 6 months, and you could not imagine a better patient than Zion Harvey to go through it. Incredible, and you can just sort of see the perseverance on his face. It's awesome. Dr. Marc Siegel, appreciate your insights on this. Thanks, Doc.
Very upbeat and a lot of courage. Absolutely, Leland. Thank you.
That story is unbelievable.
It makes such a difference. And the doctors said, you know, yes, you can have prosthetics and those kinds of things, but the ability to give a young kid like that the ability to all of a sudden be like everybody else is so important. To look like everybody else, to run like everybody else, really crucial.
I was just thinking about how his life just changed. I mean, I know the surgery was 11 hours, but his life changed overnight. And now, although he seems like he would very well integrate with his peers, it seems like now he will be able to do so much more.
And so interesting also how it's so much easier to do on children because they don't have the same nerve endings, and the nerve endings regenerate so much faster. Very cool stuff.
Neat. Great interview.
Look to hear more.